Prem Rugby is back. International rugby, it's gone, it's done, it's dusted. But the Northampton Saints and Bristol Bears have announced their squads to play this weekend, and I cannot wait to break this game down because they are finally getting that firepower that they needed from the international players, and this is looking fantastic. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Drop it in the comment section below, and let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the Saints, move on into Bristol after, but my word, we are still putting out some serious firepower here. Yes, we are still missing a lot of key players in the likes of your Fraser Dingwalls, your Alex Mitchells, Tommy Freemans of the world. So we are still missing quite a few players, but we look at the sheer power, the physicality that we're going to be working with here, the aggression at the breakdown, and then the ability to work around the back is phenomenal. One big name you are going to be seeing his back is George Furbank. He's captaining the side. He's finally getting minutes under his belt, and he is starting to put in some serious performances. And everybody knows when Furbank is fit and ready, he is the number 115 for England. And I think that's what we will end up seeing come the 2026 Six Nations. So Furbank, he's back, he's fit, and I cannot wait to see what kind of damage he's going to do up against Bristol. But otherwise, you know, Kakusau, Todoro on the wings, Tame and Litchfield. Now, normally we would end up what we will see later on in the year is we are going to see Fraser Dingwall. I'm going to see Sam Hutchinson as that centre partnership. But Tame, Litchfield, you know, they're building the experience. They do work. I'd imagine they're going to work pretty well together, and especially when you have someone like Finn Smith that can, you know, really sit back in the pocket and work the ball out. McParland, he's really been putting on a good spectacle. In Alex Mitchell's stead, he has been putting in some serious performances. So, you know, this is another big moment, especially up against Bristol. We all know how dangerous Bristol is, especially, you know, when you have monsters like Ravouvou in their squad. You know, this is going to be a very good game for McParland to stay in, in the spotlight and really show what kind of talent he's working with. But honestly, what I'm most excited for is the back row. Josh Kameni, Callum Chick, and then Sam Graham. These three are going to be pure fire. Again, we are still missing some players, but, you know, I cannot wait to see how these three are going to work at the breakdown, how they're going to, fight against the... how are they going to fight against the back row of Bristol? I don't know, but this is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Then you look behind him in Prowse and JJ van der Mecht. This is just going to make absolute waves. The Saints have really started using JJ as a completely different monster. He's not a line-out specialist. They're not using him for the line-out. And he's not mobile. He's not the most mobile lock in world rugby. But what he is, he's like 145 kilos of just pure biltong, druvos, and, you know, every kind of meat on the side. And they use him as a, you know... what's it called? He's like a truck, you know, give it to him and he just runs. That's what he does. And that's what he does best. He just causes havoc. You need 2-3 players to be able to stop this man. And I think that's exactly what's going to be needed up against Bristol. You know, that physicality, that fire, that power that's really going to need to, you know, to really set to set the tempo up against Bristol. And then Eogun, Wright, and then Trevor Davison as the pack. In terms of the bench, we have Smith, West, Kundiona, Benson, Pearson, James, Hutchinson, and then Pater. Definitely going to end up seeing these players come on in the second half, you know, get them a bit of game time. But, you know, wow, this is still looking good. This is looking good. And again, I cannot wait to see the likes when we have everybody fit, everybody ready, the Saints playing a full strength squad, and we will end up seeing the backs of Alex Mitchell, Finn Smith, Fraser Dingwall, Sam Hutchinson, Todro at the 11, or Ollie Slightholm. Then we have Tommy Freeman at the 14, and then we have George Furbank at the 15. My word, that is championship material. That is Prem winner material. Those are backs that will put 20, 30, 40 points past anybody on any given day. So cannot wait to see that. Callum Chick has just been mind-blowing since he joined. And I'm so happy that we signed Callum Chick. This guy is a monster, an absolute monster. I don't think we could have asked for a better replacement to Warno Augustus than Callum Chick. And, this comes through good recruitment. Just like we ended up losing Maya Vanua as one of our key locks. We brought in JJ, and, he's been putting in some serious performances. And, in terms of players that are coming through the ranks. I mean, even look at Peda as well. McParland, he's been putting through some good performances. Todoro has been out of this world. This guy's been making an absolute mockery of a lot of Prem teams. This guy cannot stop scoring. He was 19, 20 years old, and he's only getting better. So if we can see the likes of Todoro at the 11, Tommy Freeman at the 14, and then Furbank at the 15, I think that is going to be spectacular, absolutely spectacular. And it shows the kind of talent that we have coming through is just amazing. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. So I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. Considering the squad, this is going to be a very, very high scoring game, at least for the Saints. But we're playing at Ashton Gate. Ashton Gate is a completely different ball game, people. Completely different ball game. So talking about Ashton Gate and the Bristol Bears, let's get into the Bristol Bears, because they are no joke. And you got to take, Reece Zammit, he's on the bench. Reece Zammit is on the bench. This guy will happily change a game. Ever since he came back from the NFL, he's bigger, he's stronger, and he's still able to cause a lot of havoc. But the one player that I'm really scared about here is that man at 11, Ravouvou. The physicality that this guy brings is going to be very difficult to manage, very difficult to handle. And then you have Janse van Rensburg as well, who's some laws have seem to have been slightly stretched, and I do believe he is going to be eligible to play for England. That's going to be scary. If Janse van Rensburg is eligible for England, oh my word, that is a very elite player. That is an elite player to be able to bring in to the fold, for the England fold, and then provide competition with all of the other boys at centre. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be interesting. But yeah, let's see how this plays out. They do have a very strong squad. I mean, Rubiolo at 4 is just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. They still have players like O'Gray. They got Ivanishvili as well. But they've got a very physical squad here. They've got a squad that's able to move the ball around the pitch very, very quickly. And we saw at times last year where they were just ruthless, especially if you give them any inch. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think looking at the Saints, they are going to want to try and go as physical as possible, and then they're going to use Finn Smith to really start picking out those balls in behind. We'll probably see a couple crossfield kicks, try to hit territory, because to keep up with this team is not going to be easy. We are going to be wanting to work very hard at the breakdown, try to cause and disrupt the Bears as much as possible, because once the Bears really start getting into rhythm, they're very difficult to stop. So we need to stop them at every moment, force the errors, use JJ's pure strength and physicality. I mean, he's carrying around like 145 kg, so he's going to be a very difficult customer to shift, and we need to make the most out of that. And then to have someone as versatile and as agile and as aggressive as someone like Callum Chick, or someone who can get the ball really moving, and Josh Kameni, to fight at the breakdown, to jackal, really put on the pressure. And it comes down to the same thing: keep the errors down to a minimum. We got to keep the errors down to single digits. The moment we started going into the 20, like we saw all last year, where we ended up hitting 20 penalties conceded, and a lot of them were for absolutely no reason, we went, practically dived off a cliff. But this season, good management seems to have come through. Yes, the Prem Rugby the Prem Cup it always takes a backseat to everything. It always takes a backseat to everything. So, you know, I never really pay that much attention to Prem Rugby. I love to watch it when it's available. But do I pay major attention? No. Because we all know Prem Rugby and the Champions is where we are, you know, putting all of our effort. But what I'm liking is I'm liking to see the Saints putting in some good performances at in the Prem, because last year we saw what we finished 8th in the season and we were just struggling for points. We were basically trying to take buckets of water from the ocean and then just stabbing a huge hole into the bottom of our bucket. So by the time it actually comes, you know, to give in the goods, we empty. And it's horrible to see, because so many times last year we saw us go 20 points ahead, 15, 20 points, and then in the second half we give it away. We end up going 5, 10 points behind, and you know, there's no composure. We couldn't keep our heads, and we saw this time and time again. This year, things seems to have changed. The defensive work is definitely better. Yes, the Saints are still leaky, and this is something that that Bristol are definitely going to try and use, because Bristol, they will happily go for the jugular. They are ruthless if you give them any kind of second. So, you know, the physicality at the breakdown is going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to see what Janse van der Rensburg does at 13. I think I don't know if it's tactical or how they're going to end up, you know, working him around the Saints, but it's definitely going to be good. And they got a lot of elite level talent here. Not taking consideration, Ellis Genge is not here. One of the best loose heads in world rugby isn't here. So I cannot wait to see how this is going to play out. But my prediction for this is I'm going to go the Saints by 2 tries. 2 converted tries. So I have a feeling the Saints are going to do very well here. They're going to start off strong. They're going to put the Bristol Bears on their back foot early on, although Bristol are going to be wanting to come out strong and hit the Saints early. I think we will see the Saints dominate the early game. We'll see Bristol come back more than likely late part of the first half and early second half before the Saints end up closing it off with 2 tries to their name. Two tries to the good. So this is definitely going to be an interesting game. I cannot wait to see how this is going to pan out, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Who do you think is going to be the key players in this game, and can the Saints come away with a huge win up against Bristol at their own home? Ashton Gate is going to be an absolute fortress, so the Saints are definitely going to have to put their best foot forward. So drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.